If you've been following XRP for a while, you've probably seen people talking about something called Ripple's private ledger. Some investors say it's the future of institutional finance. Others believe it's the reason XRP's price hasn't responded to years of positive news. And lately, I've been seeing more and more comments asking the same question. If Ripple is using a private ledger, what happens to everyone holding XRP on the public ledger? Honestly, I understand why people are confused. You hear terms like private ledger, public ledger, RLUSD, institutional settlement. And before long, it starts to sound like there's some hidden system that only banks get access to while retail investors are left behind. But is that actually what's happening? Or has this entire conversation been misunderstood? Today, I want to clear up some of that confusion. Not with hype, not with conspiracy theories, just by looking at how these systems are designed to work and why this topic has become so controversial in the XRP community. First, let's clear up one misconception. When people hear the words private ledger, many immediately imagine a completely separate version of XRP, where banks are secretly moving trillions of dollars while public XRP holders never benefit. That's a scary idea, but it's also a huge assumption. A private ledger and the XRP ledger are not automatically the same thing. Think about it like this. Imagine a large international company has its own private office network. Employees communicate inside that secure network every day because sensitive business information needs to stay private. Now imagine that same company still uses the public internet to communicate with customers, suppliers, and businesses around the world. Those two systems serve different purposes. One isn't replacing the other. They're simply designed for different jobs. That's an important distinction because financial institutions have always cared about privacy, compliance, and security. Large banks don't want every internal transaction visible to the entire world while it's being processed. That's not unique to blockchain. That's how traditional finance has operated for decades. So when you hear discussions about permissioned or private environments, it doesn't automatically mean XRP has been abandoned or that retail investors have been left out. It simply means institutions often require additional privacy features for certain types of transactions. Now, does that mean the public XRP ledger becomes useless? Not necessarily. In fact, this is where the conversation starts getting much more interesting, because Ripple has repeatedly continued building around the XRP ecosystem. Whether it's partnerships, payment infrastructure, or even recent branding decisions that continue putting the XRP name in front of millions of people, none of those actions suggest the company is trying to erase XRP from its long-term strategy. So why has this private ledger narrative become so popular? I think the answer is simple. Whenever the price doesn't move the way investors expect, people naturally start looking for hidden explanations. Sometimes those explanations turn out to be true. Sometimes they're simply misunderstandings that spread faster than facts. And that's why I think it's important to separate speculation from evidence. Let's get to the question everyone really wants answered. If banks and financial institutions use private ledgers, where does that leave XRP holders? This is where a lot of online discussions become confusing because people often mix together three completely different ideas. There's Ripple, the company, there's the XRP ledger, which is a public blockchain, and then there are private or permission systems that institutions may choose to use for specific business needs. Those aren't all the same thing, and understanding that difference changes the entire conversation. Let's use a simple example. Imagine you're sending an international payment. Before that payment is completed, a bank may want to verify identities, perform compliance checks, screen for sanctions, and make sure everything meets regulatory requirements. A private environment makes sense for that kind of sensitive information because not every detail should be visible to the entire world. But that's only one part of the process. The next question is, how is the value actually moved? That's where many people believe the public blockchain can still play an important role. Think of it like an airport. Passengers spend time inside secure areas before boarding. Those areas are private for security reasons, but eventually every plane still uses the same runway to take off. The secure terminal doesn't replace the runway. It simply prepares people before they use it. Blockchain systems can work in a similar way. Some information may stay inside private environments, while settlement can still happen using public infrastructure if that's the most efficient option. Now, does that mean every private ledger must use the XRP ledger? No. Nobody can honestly guarantee that. And it's important to be careful whenever someone speaks with absolute certainty. I've seen people confidently claim that every institutional transaction will eventually flow through XRP. I've also seen others claim the exact opposite, that the public XRP ledger will never matter again. The truth is, neither side has definitive proof for those extreme positions. That's why I think investors should avoid building their entire investment thesis around rumors. Instead, ask a better question. What actions is Ripple actually taking? Because actions usually tell us more than speculation. For example, Ripple continues investing in the XRP ecosystem. The company still promotes XRP publicly. It continues supporting development around the XRP Ledger, and when Ripple has opportunities to showcase its technology, XRP continues to be part of that conversation. If the long-term plan were to quietly replace XRP altogether, you would expect to see the opposite. You'd expect XRP branding to disappear. You'd expect all attention to shift somewhere else. But that's not what we've been seeing. At the same time, it's also unrealistic to believe that every institution will immediately use public blockchain infrastructure for every transaction. Large financial institutions move cautiously. They test, they run pilot programs, they build private environments. Then they gradually connect those systems with broader financial networks. That's how enterprise technology has always evolved, not through one giant overnight switch, but through gradual adoption. And I think that's where many XRP investors become frustrated. They expect one announcement to instantly change the price, one partnership, one piece of legislation, one new product. But institutional adoption usually doesn't happen in dramatic headlines. It happens step by step. After looking at all of this, I think we can come to a pretty simple conclusion. The existence of a private ledger doesn't automatically mean the public XRP ledger becomes worthless. Those two ideas aren't necessarily competing with each other. In many cases, they can serve different purposes within the same financial ecosystem. The bigger mistake is assuming that every rumor is a fact simply because it's repeated often on social media. If you're investing in XRP, don't make decisions based on fear or speculation. Instead, watch what Ripple is actually doing. Is the company still investing in the XRP ecosystem? Is it continuing to build partnerships? Is XRP still part of Ripple's long-term strategy? Those questions matter far more than rumors that nobody has been able to fully verify. And honestly, I think this is a topic the XRP community deserves more clarity on. There's still a lot we don't know, and until Ripple publicly explains every detail, some questions will naturally remain. So now I want to hear from you. Do you believe private ledgers and the public XRP ledger can work together? Or do you think this is something Ripple needs to explain in more detail? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I read as many comments as I can. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more XRP videos that explain the topics everyone is talking about, but few people actually explain clearly, make sure to like this video, subscribe to OG John XRP Insights, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.